let's move on. Oh boy. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. This is a pivotal moment in Call of Duty history. Like, it sounds ironic to say, but like, this is Call of Duty 4 2.0. It's ironic because this one is also Modern Warfare. This redefined everything in Call of Duty, and I think as the years go on, looking back on it, we can see that more and more clearly. This game like really reinvigorated the franchise. It like was a shot of adrenaline into Call of Duty because Infinity Ward had a vision. They knew what they wanted this game to be, and they executed it. They created one of the most high quality, probably the most high quality Call of Duty experiences, I think, ever. We are officially live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my very first live stream here on the channel. Actually, little secret, this is not the first live stream that I've attempted. I've done it like once or twice over the years, but I never really know what I'm doing, and it never goes super well, but I have a feeling that that won't be the case this time. Or maybe I just jinxed it by saying that. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I've dabbled in doing live streams here and there because I think that this is like a completely different type of content than I would normally put on the channel, which is like much more scripted and it's like highly edited. And the problem with that is that it takes so much more time for me to make that it's hard to like put out a ton of stuff. And I genuinely love posting lots of stuff on YouTube, but it's kind of corny to say this, but like sometimes I feel like I'm a bit too much of a perfectionist. And when I'm creating that scripted stuff, I always find myself being like, oh, this part needs to be written better, or like this part needs to be edited better. So like I take more time. It's like I need to re-record this, I need to rethink this, and then like before I know it, weeks have passed and I haven't even posted anything. So like I've dabbled in doing live streams because the good thing about this is like I just sit down, turn on the camera, and just do something, and boom, it's like a nice piece of content, hopefully, to put on the channel. And it's a bit more casual. And like obviously the fun thing about a live stream is that we have a chat, so like there can be a little back and forth. So I've wanted to do live streams for a specific type of content for a while, and that's what we're gonna be doing here today. Unfortunately, I doubt anybody is actually like gonna stumble across this live stream and hop into the chat, but what I'm gonna be doing is making the video here live, and then I'll probably cut up some sections of it and re-upload it as like an edited video on the channel as well. So I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you're probably seeing it in the edited video, in which case, thank you for stopping by, and next time, feel free to drop into the live if you want. I thought it might be nice for the very first live that we've done on the channel, to be an official, up-to-date, 100% accurate Call of Duty tier list. Now, I know this kind of thing is like super tired on YouTube. Like, if you're like me, you've probably watched like a million Call of Duty tier lists on YouTube. But as somebody who talks about Call of Duty online, I feel like this is the kind of thing that's nice to have like up on your channel somewhere. As you talk about certain things, it's nice to have a video that you can, you know, point to show people and say, look, if you want to know my thoughts on different Call of Duties and how they relate to each other, here's my official tier list ranking or whatever. So it's a one-stop shop to get like some high-level thoughts on every Call of Duty. And of course, to go over the ones that I think are the best and the ones that I think are the worst. And with that, I mean, we should just jump into it. Like, I don't know how long this will take. Sometimes I really get going and just like keep talking and talking. So we'll see. Some ground rules before we get started. We're just doing mainline Call of Duties, obviously, and we're only going to be doing from Call of Duty 4 and later. Like most people, I have not really played Call of Duty 1 through 3. I don't imagine many people who are still in the community now have played those, or at least are like really familiar with them. And also, as we're going to talk about here in just a second, Call of Duty 4 is really when Call of Duty as we know it today was born. Second rule, I have something that I call the 80-20 rule when it comes to rating Call of Duties. What that means is that I do it 80% based on the multiplayer of that game, and the other 20% is based off of whatever else the game has to offer. Because I am somebody who likes the campaigns. I'll play through the campaign every year, And of course, some Call of Duties have a third mode. Like we have a zombies mode for Treyarch games, some sort of survival mode sometimes in Infinity Ward games. Those are also important to me, especially the zombies. We'll talk about that as we get into it. But I think that's important for people to know. That's kind of like my weighting system. So it is heavily weighed towards multiplayer, but it's not just multiplayer. And we're going to see that play out as we are ranking the Call of Duties here. So with that, I think there's nothing else left to cover. We can just jump straight into this thing. Taking this in chronological order, up very first, we have Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. This is the original Modern Warfare, so don't get the titles mixed up. I know that's really annoying nowadays. So again, this game is pretty old at this point. I have played it, but it's not like I was playing it every day when it came out. I don't know how old I would have been, but probably too young to really appreciate it. But retroactively, we can look back at this game and I think kind of evaluate it for what it is. So this game really shaped an entire generation of FPS shooters and more broadly, like shooters in general. This is one of the more influential games in the genre, one of the more influential games ever. At the time for Call of Duty, this was like a pretty big departure from the normal World War II setting, which is what was the setting for Call of Duties 1 through 3. And so it was a pretty big deal when they decided to bring it into the modern day. And not only that, but like this totally revamped the way that the game did multiplayer. And like I said a second ago, this really shaped what we know even today as Call of Duty multiplayer. So, I mean, this game brought create a class, it brought kill streaks, perks, attachments, weapon camos, prestige mode, one of my all-time favorite things about Call of Duty. That right there, like you're looking at like 5 or 6 like foundational ideas for Call of Duty multiplayer that are still around even today. Also, back to the setting, this really started what I like to call the tactical kind of like theme of Call of Duty. This is where it's like, you know, tactical and thoughtful, and there's all sorts of like cool gear, but it's, you know, shown in like a really awesome way where you look at it and you're like, oh, this is freaking sick, you know? So this was like the beginning of tactical for me, at least. And it was something that really connected with people at the time. Like this game really changed everything. Like I said, we have a few iconic maps. Unfortunately, Shipment was created here. And like as a little side note, I'm pretty sure Shipment was never even supposed to like ship with the game. It was like made just for development purposes. And I think they just decided to like throw it into the public map pool, or maybe it was by accident. And that was an awful decision on their part, looking back at it all this time later, because I really don't like Shipment and the culture that's that it's created, that's come up around it. But that did come with Call of Duty 4. Like I said, I don't have too much, like I have more experience playing the remastered version than the real version. But we're just looking like retroactively at the game here. Giving it a ranking, all of those innovations, like you could definitely justify an S tier ranking for Call of Duty 4. The one thing that's going to keep it out of S tier for me is that it's not necessarily like the best iteration of that formula that it created. It is a really good like first swing at it. And I am somebody, I like to take into account like what the game did at the time, you know? And at the time, this was an incredible step forward, but it's still not, it's not S tier material for me because there are still pieces that are missing before it becomes like top tier Call of Duty. That being said, this does pretty comfortably go into A tier for me. So incredible game, really high up there. You know, we're looking at an A tier, but it's not top tier Call of Duty. We'll get to what that looks like in a second. So let's move on to World at War. A little backstory on me. This is my first Call of Duty. And when I bought this game to play it, it was actually after Modern Warfare 2, the next Call of Duty, had come out. But the reason I bought it so late is because a friend of mine, like randomly, called me up. At the time I played like Call of Duty. I played Halo. I didn't really care about Call of Duty. But he called me up and was like, dude, they have this new zombies mode. It's so cool. Like, you have to buy this game so we can play it. So I did, even though I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not really about the whole Call of Duty thing. But we pick it up. We play some Nocturne and Toten. and my mind was blown. Like, the zombies mode was so cool. It was like scary to the point, but like addictive, you know, like it was really scary to hop in, but like it felt so cool to hop in and see how long we could survive on Nocturne Toten. So I was instantly hooked on zombies. My friends were coming over. We would all like take turns playing in teams of 2. And then eventually one day I was like curious, so I hopped into the multiplayer for World at War, and I started having a lot of fun. And at that point, that's when I was like, because I was aware of Modern Warfare 2, which was out at the time. After I was having fun with the World at War multiplayer, that's when I was like, okay, let me try the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, and we can see what this is all about. And so the rest is kind of history from there. I've got a soft spot for this game. It will always have a special place in my heart because it was my first Call of Duty. But talking about the game like more objectively, what we have here is a Call of Duty that goes back to World War II, which is like, you know, home sweet home for Call of Duty. And it takes a lot of the multiplayer elements from Call of Duty 4, but it's just a little less flashy. Like, it doesn't have that tactical element that we talked about. The game overall is like really dark, which I like because it's, you know, the Call of Duty, it took itself really seriously at this point in time. We actually did a video ranking Call of Duty lobby tracks, and the lobby track on World at War is like, it is like the most horrifying thing. It will give you nightmares. It's like scary to boot up the game because you hear that lobby music. But that was all part of what they were going for with the game, and I just think that they did it so well. But the multiplayer for me is a little bit underwhelming, at least when you compare it to Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2 after it. It's not really doing anything that special for me, but the campaign was good, really gritty, like really dark. And then, of course, the creation of zombies is doing this game a lot of favors, which is just, in my opinion, like one of the best, most replayable, fun survival games like ever created. It's like, it's approachable by anyone. It's so addictive to like, you always want to see like, I can get a better weapon from the mystery box next time. We can come up with a better strategy. You have the great Call of Duty gunplay that's in the mix there, and there was just nothing else like it. So coming to a ranking for this game, this is kind of tough because I feel like it's probably a B tier. I'm tempted to put it up on A just because of the inclusion of zombies, but I don't know if that's enough to carry it that far up for me. So we're gonna have to put it in B. It's close, you know. If there was something in between these two, it would definitely go there. But I love the game. Multiplayer is just like slightly disappointing coming off of Call of Duty 4. Zombies was incredible, of course. But let's move on. Up next, we've got, for most people, this is the big one. This is Modern Warfare 2, the follow-up to Call of Duty 4, a direct sequel to Modern Warfare. This is the game that is mentioned first pretty much anytime you're talking about the best Call of Duties ever. There's, especially like all the old heads in the community, you know, like they'll always be talking about this game. I think they put it up on a pedestal just a little bit too much for my taste, but this is the GOAT for many people. And it's definitely for a reason. I mean, this game took what Call of Duty 4 did and kind of brought it to its full potential. It iterated on that new formula. It added customizable kill streaks. We have the tactical nuke, which is so iconic. Pro perks, which are great. Like, I don't know why those never come back, but all of this is like adding so much more diversity to the creative class. There's like new secondary weapons to pick from for your creative class, new attachments, new equipment like the Semtexes. Unfortunately, we had death streaks, which, if you don't know, was like, they were like kill streaks, but it was kind of like a mercy rule where if you died enough times in a row, I think it was maybe like 3, your death streak would activate and it would give you like some dumb little advantage. Like one, I think, was called Martyr, and if you died, you would automatically drop a live grenade, and you would get that because you kept on dying without getting any kills. So that was super annoying, one of the more controversial elements to this game. But yeah, we're looking at a legendary Call of Duty. Rust was introduced here. Terminal, those are probably 2 of my favorite Modern Warfare 2 maps. And the gameplay was just really fast and really chaotic. everything felt overpowered. And I think that was part of the fun of the game. There was so much, like the build crafting with Create a Class was so much fun. I remember you could pair up Lightweight, which lets you run around faster, with Commando, which gave you a bigger like melee distance. So like you could run around really quick and get those melees from extra far away. And it was like a viable strategy to just run around without even a gun. Like you just had your knife out. And that was so much fun. And you could also pair up like the classic noob tube, the grenade launcher, which was a new attachment for your gun, and the one-man army perk, which gave you increased explosive damage. And that was like crazy powerful, man. Like that was insane. You could also, of course, there's the classic Sleight of Hand Pro, which gave you faster aim down sight speed. And you pair that with a sniper, and you can just do like insane quick scoping, which you don't see too much in Call of Duty anymore because it was pretty overpowered, and they have been trying to really balance that for like years and years and years, pretty much ever since this game. But there was all this cool stuff that you could build your class for, and it all felt overpowered, but in a way it kind of like balances itself out because it is all overpowered. And that to me is the charm of Modern Warfare 2, that it's fast and crazy and everything is like so powerful, but it eventually like, you know, balances out and everything kind of makes sense. So it's like this beautiful chaotic mess kind of in a way. And of course the game was a massive hit. Like this was a crazy blockbuster success for Call of Duty and Modern Warfare. People still talk about it today. I remember my friends were like, they were all like 10 prestiges. I was like, I couldn't believe how much my friends were playing this game. So I mean, nobody's surprised here. We got to put that in F tier, or an S tier, not F. One of the GOAT Call of Duties, and it's for a reason that it's in that conversation. Like I said, it's kind of annoying, I think, how much of a pedestal people put it on. We talk about it so much for a reason, unfortunately. So let's move on to Call of Duty Black Ops. I just have to say right here at the outset, this is my favorite Call of Duty of all time, without question. At the time, like I said, I got into Call of Duty during the Modern Warfare 2 period, but like I played World at War and then I moved over to Modern Warfare 2. And then this game was like the first new Call of Duty to come out since I was like really interested in it. And not only that, but it had a brand new zombies mode attached to it. So it was like the most exciting thing ever. I was going to get a brand new multiplayer mode, which I had gotten into, as well as a brand new zombies mode with new zombies maps. And also, like the trailers and everything just looked so freaking cool for Black Ops. Like the Black Ops aesthetic, the Black Ops theme to me is so much fun. Like you have all these secret government operations and it's like all of this like conspiratorial stuff. It's just so cool. Like I was so hyped for this game. I'd never been that excited for a game ever. And it absolutely did not disappoint. There were so many cool things added in Black Ops 1. I think the multiplayer was extremely fun. Granted, it was toned down a bit from Modern Warfare 2 for sure. Like it didn't have that chaotic, overpowered feeling. At this point, we'd kind of entered a new era where they were trying to tone things back and keep things more balanced, but it was still extremely fun. You had a currency system within Create a Class, so there were points that you would get just for playing the game. It had nothing to do with real life currency. And then you would buy your Create a Class items with those points, and you can do it in whatever order that you wanted. So that was a lot of fun and something that we haven't really seen since in Call of Duty. And also with those points, you could do what was called a wager match, where you would go into a match and you would bet your points. So it was like really high stakes. It felt like so much was on the line, even though it was still, you know, just the fake video game currency. But that was such a cool feature. Also, Black Ops 1, the best pool of multiplayer maps in the entire franchise. Like this is the game that gave us Nuketown, it gave us Summit, it gave us Firing Range, some other like lesser talked about ones like Jungle I really liked. WMD was really good. I'm trying to think of a Black Ops 1 map that I don't like. I think that they were they were right on the money when they were creating maps for this game. And it was so awesome. And the same goes for the zombies. Like, zombies at this point through World at War, with each successive map release, they were building on it. Like, there were new mechanics added, and it felt like it kept getting better and better and better. And then with Black Ops 1, it was the same thing. Like, Kino der Toten came out, and it felt like an extension of Der Riese. I don't want to get too deep into the zombies talk here, but so good. And it really, like, it didn't disappoint at all. Kino der Toten was so fun. I spent so many hours playing it with my friends. And then there was the other map, 5, where you were in the frickin' Pentagon fighting zombies. Oh my gosh, it was so cool. I mean, like, you know what I'm gonna do here. I already told you this is my favorite Call of Duty of all time. It had everything: great multiplayer, brand new zombies that was awesome, and a campaign with a cool story. Created iconic characters. We got Alex Mason, we got Woods. Without a doubt, an S-tier Call of Duty, my favorite of all time. And they don't make them like that anymore, do they? Okay, so let's move on to Modern Warfare 3. We are back in the Modern Warfare franchise. At this point in my Call of Duty career, I've developed an affinity for the Black Ops franchise over the Modern Warfare franchise. So I wasn't terribly excited when this game came out. I was excited, but like, it was nothing near like when Black Ops 1 came out. I mean, the main thing that was exciting about it was that it was the conclusion to the Modern Warfare story, and I don't think it disappointed in that regard. Like, it was cool to see the end of the Makarov storyline, and like, that part of it felt really big and explosive. The multiplayer was fun, but it really wasn't too far off from Modern Warfare 2. Like, it wasn't a very big improvement. It felt really similar. It looked really similar. So not really any points to give it there. Although there were some good, some innovations that it added. Like, this was the game, I think, where kill streaks actually became score streaks, which meant that you could progress toward your kill streaks or point streaks now with things other than kills. So like, if you were capturing a point in domination, or if you got an assist, or if you blew up enemy equipment or something like that, which I really liked, because then it, you know, makes the game way more objective oriented, makes it feel like more team based rather than each person on their own just trying to get as many kills as they can. Also, strike packages. This was really cool in Modern Warfare 3, which was essentially just different types of point streaks that you could use. So there was the assault package, which were like normal kill streaks, like AC-130, that kind of thing. And then there was the support strike package, which would give you ones like UAVs, but the difference here is that it wouldn't reset if you died, since you were just doing support streaks. So like, you were guaranteed to get some good support out for your team with that. And then there was also the specialist strike package, which would, instead of giving you UAVs or AC-130s, would give you extra perks. And eventually you could get every perk in the game. And it was such a cool feeling having all of that. And it was also cool the way that it would snowball. Like, you get one extra perk, and then you're a little bit more powerful to get you into the next perk. And eventually you're just like this amazing super soldier, and you have all of these superpowers. And that was really cool. To my recollection, that hasn't been brought back to any Call of Duty since. I don't know why. But very good, and underrated element that they brought to Modern Warfare 3 by I actually think that this was Sledgehammer who created this Modern Warfare, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it felt a lot like Modern Warfare 2, but again, at this point, we've entered an era where they're trying to keep things more balanced. So it was like Modern Warfare 2, but they nerfed a lot of the fun out of it. That's kind of lame. They did add a co-op survival mode, which I was really excited for as a zombies player. And I had always wondered, like, if Modern Warfare would attempt to create, like, their version of zombies. Like, I remember there were jokes online at the time. Maybe not jokes. There were, like, legit rumors that people were spreading that there was going to be an alien terrorists mode in the new Modern Warfare, which is, like, just absolutely ridiculous thinking back on it. But this is kind of what we got, and it ends up feeling, like, pretty boring and uninspired. I remember I played it with my friends for like a day or two, but nowhere near as replayable as zombies. The game overall is, like, I think a little bit just disappointing. I guess that's a pattern with Modern Warfare 3s, as we'll talk about later on. Giving this thing a ranking, I can't put it in the same tier as World at War. This has got to be a C tier. That seems a little harsh, but it really was kind of just disappointing. Let's move on to Black Ops 2. This is another crowd favorite. When you're having the GOAT conversation, Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2 are the ones that come up very first and, all the time. So for Call of Duty, this is like the first time that they're dipping their toe into futurism, where I guess nowadays it's just modern day, since Black Ops 2 took place in 2025, or parts of it. But at the time, they were dipping their toe into the future for the very first time. And that was cool because it meant like the guns and all the equipment and everything looked more futuristic. It was something that we hadn't seen at the time. The campaign had this cool like branching storylines thing where you could get different endings depending on what you wanted to do. I was always a little bit disappointed with the way that the Black Ops storyline went after Black Ops 1. It's kind of disappointing to me that they skipped so far ahead in the future where like Mason dies and all this other stuff. Spoilers for a 10-year-old game or whatever. But yeah, I know people really like that campaign. As far as multiplayer, they introduced the pick 10 system, which is where you basically can just pick 10 elements from throughout the create a class system, and that's like your only limitation, as opposed to what Call of Duty has been doing more recently, which is I just call it slot based, meaning that you have slots and each slot you have to fill with something, and you don't have that same kind of freedom that pick 10 gives you. So like for example with pick 10, instead of picking a secondary weapon and using one of your points for your secondary weapon, people will put like an extra attachment on their gun because that's how the system works. And I know people like having that freedom. For me, I've actually never quite liked the pick 10 system because, like, for that example, it just feels like instead of making decisions as to like, oh, which secondary weapon should I pick, even though I know I'm probably not going to use it, I just feel forced to like put an extra attachment on my gun or do an extra perk or something. And then I end up actually making not as many meaningful decisions for my class in the long run, if that makes sense. But this was a big innovation at the time. We also got some good maps. Hijacked, Raid, I know is one that people really like. Definitely speeds up the gameplay from Black Ops 1. It starts feeling a little bit more Modern Warfare-like at this point, but like with more futuristic guns and that kind of thing. And this is also kind of the beginning of Black Ops being kind of like the more wild and out there arcadey game in the Call of Duty franchise. But the multiplayer overall was really fun. That's probably my favorite part of Black Ops 2 is the multiplayer. I feel like it's pretty solid. Black Ops 2 Zombies for me is mainly a misfire, like at least at launch anyway. Transit, Treyarch just bit off more than they could chew, and it didn't turn out very well. And it wasn't until later in the DLC season, like when they brought in Origins and Mob of the Dead, that we started getting some quality zombies maps. And for me, that was already like, it already felt a little late for me at the time. I remember when those started coming out. But overall, people are going to hate me for saying this. I think this one is a little bit overrated, just a little bit overrated. Keep in mind, I'm not trying to say that the game is bad. I just think that like people call this an S tier Call of Duty. For me, this is not an S tier Call of Duty. It just doesn't have like that all around like amazing kick to it that the other S tier Call of Duties have. This is going to hurt for some people. I just, overall, like, I didn't like the direction that they took the story in. The multiplayer was really fun and fast, but like I said, I'm not a fan of the pick 10 system. There were some good maps. Like, I think maybe Raid is probably my favorite one, but like compared to Black Ops 1 or Modern Warfare 2 maps, I don't think the maps hold up to those. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put this in A tier. People are gonna be mad, but make your own damn list, okay? For me, it's an A tier, but look, that's a great company. This is still a great game. It's one of the better Call of Duties for sure. It's just not an S tier. It's not a God tier Call of Duty for me. So let's move on to Call of Duty Ghosts. So this is Infinity Ward after they are moving on from their Modern Warfare franchise, which I can just say right now, like, I really respect that that's what they were doing at the time. They made 3 Call of Duty games, I guess, with the help of Sledgehammer. And then they wanted to move on to something new, which is something that they don't do anymore nowadays. But they created a new sub-franchise called Ghosts. And this was kind of similar to Black Ops 2 in that it was near future. I think like one of the main problems with this was that it didn't really feel all that new and different from Modern Warfare 2, at least like thematically. The gameplay itself was definitely different. Ghosts has an infamously fast time to kill, and that did not feel very good in a game. Like Call of Duty already has relatively fast time to kill. This did not really feel good in Ghosts, especially coupled with the map design that they were going for with this game, which was really big maps. So you have these massive maps where you're running around and then dying in an instant. It just was a bad combination, and it didn't feel very good to play. Also, the visuals of the game were like really dry and washed out. I don't know what Infinity Ward was going for here. I respect that they took a swing, but like, I don't know what they were trying to do. I can't even, off the top of my head, I couldn't even name a classic Ghosts map. I didn't really like any of them. The gameplay wasn't like tight and punchy like it usually is. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure they still had the strike packages from Modern Warfare 3, which like I said, I liked. This game technically had a create a character, which is an underrated feature. Like, I love creative characters. I wish Call of Duty had one now instead of like those predetermined operators that you buy. I remember they were selling like dynamic events that could happen on the map. So like earthquakes, collapsing buildings, floods, that kind of thing, which is cool in theory, but it ends up just being one of those gimmicks. Like every year when there's a new Call of Duty, there's always one thing that they have created that doesn't actually change the gameplay in any meaningful way, but is really good for marketing. And this is one of those things where it's like, look, evolving maps, it's so cool. And then you get in and it doesn't really affect the game in any meaningful way. Even though like on paper it sounds like it could. Like maybe if they iterated over this, it could one day. So yeah, that's a little underwhelming. Extinction mode though. This was pretty cool. So this was Infinity Ward's proper answer to Treyarch Zombies. So it's like this survival type mode. It's more objective based than Zombies, but you were fighting like these extraterrestrial aliens. And I don't think that the gameplay was like really all that good at the end of the day, but it was really cool that Infinity Ward made this and put this in the game. Like I said, when I was younger, I dreamed of the day that Infinity Ward would do something like this. And with Ghosts, they did that. It's just a shame that they never really came back to this. I guess, I mean, maybe like there really was just so little interest in it that they didn't feel like there was any reason to return to it. But I wish that they did, because it was a really bold experiment. It was really cool. Gameplay, you know, it wasn't bad, but it didn't hook you as much as Zombies did. I do remember back in the day with Ghost 2, they had these cool DLC packs. Like there was one with Michael Myers where like you could, as a kill streak, you could become Michael Myers. And that was really cool. I think there was a similar one for Predator too, if I remember right. But it's funny looking back on that, because nowadays, of course, Call of Duty is littered with crossovers, but it feels different now. Like it feels way more cynical. There's usually nothing that like really affects the gameplay. It's kind of just like they're just like tons of like cash grabs now. But back then when Ghosts did this, like this was genuinely cool. Maybe it was just because I was younger and more hopeful back then, but like I remember thinking that that was pretty cool. So overall, Ghosts is a weird one. I do think it deserves the reputation that it has of just being a miss. Oh man, it hurts to put this in F. It hurts to put this in F tier, but this might be F tier. Yeah, it's going in F tier, unfortunately. But let it be known that I do respect what Infinity Ward was trying to do with creating a new franchise here. They picked the wrong direction almost entirely to go in. All right, so let's move on to Advanced Warfare. This is one of the biggest risks that the franchise took ever. This is a game by Sledgehammer, which is kind of like a lesser known Call of Duty developer. They haven't had their Black Ops or their Modern Warfare 2 at this point. And right now they're making a game with advanced movement. meaning that, you know, in the game, your guy has like a jetpack or something. They call it an exosuit in this. And this lets you like double jump in the air, and it lets you like boost your slide, and you can like strafe dodge, and it absolutely maximizes your movement in a way that no other Call of Duty game had even come close to before. Like this like blew the lid off of Call of Duty movement when this kind of thing was introduced. And we're also now going into like a further future setting. Like we're really leaning into all the futuristic stuff with like your exosuit. There's like energy-based weapons and that kind of thing. If I remember right, there was an invisibility cloak. So like we're really looking at a futuristic sci-fi game at this point. And this new advanced movement really changes the DNA of Call of Duty. Like we're changing the gameplay at the most basic level, which is how you move around. And personally, I think that this game was really cool. I loved Advanced Warfare. I've called this game the most underrated Call of Duty ever. I even went as far as I made a whole video about it a while back. I do a series on my main channel called Codology. I'll link it below because it's a great video. But I did an episode of Codology covering Advanced Warfare and really just talking about all the different things that I love about this game and why I think that it is the most underrated Call of Duty. This advanced movement to me is the best advanced movement that we've had in any Call of Duty game, because it's really more centered around little boosts of movement rather than like sustained flight up in the air, which I don't like as much. I like just getting a little dash and a little strafe. So this is my favorite advanced movement that we've seen in Call of Duty. The creative class, we had a variation of pick 10. We already know how I feel about that. There were some cool like customizable kill streaks. There were different types of UAVs. Like I remember one would give you like wall hacks, which is cool. I liked that. Unfortunately, what we have to mention at this point is that this is the beginning of the loot box era, which was a cancer on Call of Duty, on gaming overall. Basically, this was locking gameplay items like weapons behind these loot boxes, which were purely RNG. So like you would have to buy them and it would give you 3 random items. And there's like a 0.01% chance it gives you the item that you actually want. And it's important to remember, like kids these days, I think will have a hard time comprehending that back then there were gameplay items that were in these. Games nowadays, like there's a pretty hard line drawn, and which is great, and most developers don't cross it, and they usually just have like cosmetic stuff for that kind of thing. But back then, these were weapons. These were gameplay-altering items that were stuck in these loot boxes. And that was just, it was a blight on the game. It was so terrible. But apart from that, like I said, gameplay was great. I really loved the map design. Like, they really had to overhaul the way that they designed maps to fit the new movement. And I think that Sledgehammer rose to the occasion there. I remember Solar, there was a map called Detroit, I think. Really cool looking maps. They worked well for the movement. They were nice to look at. Campaign, of course, was a brand new story. They had Kevin Spacey in on this campaign, which is a bit awkward in hindsight, now knowing what we know. But still, like getting Kevin Spacey at the time for Call of Duty, that was a pretty big get. And I liked that campaign. Like I remember there was like a skill tree with your character, so like a little RPG element there. This did have a zombies mode. Oddly enough, it didn't launch with the game, but eventually we did get Exo Zombies, which was very similar to like Treyarch Zombies, but there was this added thing of you could get your exosuit, and so there was advanced movement in zombies. And I never fell in love with that, but it's a cool change of pace for zombies, not bad. It also had a normal survival mode, like similar to what Modern Warfare 3 had. I think did we mention that? Yeah, it had kind of like a boring survival mode. So it had that on top of the zombies, pretty good. And overall, like I said, this is an underrated Call of Duty for me, the most underrated. If I could snap my fingers and get a sequel to any Call of Duty, it would probably be this one. I mean, there's one other contender that we'll talk about in a second, but yeah, this game, man, it deserved more. So let's rank this bad boy. So I think it's really underrated. I think most people would put it in C, or God forbid even F. But I think it fits pretty comfortably in B for me. I can't put it on A in good conscience. Like it doesn't hang with COD 4 and Black Ops 2, but it's in good company in B, and like I love that game. You can go watch my episode of CODology on it if you want some more thoughts. But let's move on to Black Ops 3. So at this point, we are doubling down on advanced movement, and it's making its way to my beloved Black Ops franchise within Call of Duty. And we are now like in an even more futuristic setting. I think this is like 2070 is when the game takes place. So it's kind of unrecognizable to Black Ops 1 overall, both in terms of like theme and gameplay. Like I said, I really loved Black Ops 1 back in the day. And by the time we get to Black Ops 3, it's like, what even is the identity of this franchise? You know? Because we've come so far and it's pretty much a different thing entirely. I was a little disappointed at the time that we were getting a futuristic Black Ops game with jetpacks, and there was a period when there were a lot of bad things being said about this game pretty much all the time. Of course, nowadays we live in an era of lots of revisionism, and with Black Ops 3 specifically, people have gone back and said, you know what, this is one of the best Call of Duties ever. And I think a big part of that is that a lot of the people who were younger when this game came out, like I guess I might fall in that category, but some people who were younger played this. It was maybe their first Call of Duty. And now they're old enough, you know, they're thinking a bit more clearly, and they're on the internet. And now these people are saying, I don't know what people's problem with Black Ops 3 is. This is one of the best Call of Duties ever. I still have my problems with the multiplayer. I don't like the jetpacks in Black Ops 3. Yeah, it's hard. Like I said, that's a fundamental thing to the multiplayer, and it's just not something that I like. The campaign was like a really odd choice overall. Like, it barely has anything to do with the rest of the Black Ops franchise. It's not a very good campaign on its own even. And really the shining star of BO3 is the zombies mode, which is, I think, undisputed the best iteration of zombies. You have the best mechanics. Of course, Black Ops 3 looks really good. And you have an incredible selection of maps with like all of the Black Ops 3 original maps that came out, like Shadows of Evil, Der Eisendrache, lots of fan favorites, as well as Zombies Chronicles, which remastered all of my favorite zombies maps, like Der Riese, Kino der Toten. Still no Call of the Dead for some reason. Really underrated zombies map, but I digress. I don't think that people nowadays like are calling this an S tier Call of Duty. That it is really not that for me. If it weren't for the best zombies mode that we've ever seen, this would go in C for me. But because we do have zombies, I think like this earns a B tier. It's a pretty square B tier. And you know, 6 or 7 years ago, I don't think people would have had a problem with that, but people might nowadays. So let's move on to Infinite Warfare. This is one of the most infamous Call of Duties ever. Yet another futuristic advanced movement Call of Duty. So this is the third one in a row. People are getting a little tired of it at this point. And this game, the reveal trailer, was one of the most disliked videos on YouTube. Absolutely horrific reception to this game. And, you know, at the time, like, I was still playing Call of Duty, but myself and a lot of other players, like, we were starting to feel a little disenfranchised with the current direction of the game. And this was kind of just another reason to not want to play, like when you saw that they were doubling down even further on this. Very sci-fi heavy game, space battles, zero gravity segments, laser weapons. Like, this is closer to Halo at sometimes than it is Call of Duty. Of course, we have the advanced movement, so we have like jetpacks with wall running and all of that stuff. I do feel like the jetpacks in this game are better than the ones in Black Ops 3. Although, full disclosure, this is probably my least played Call of Duty. So maybe this would be fun to revisit. We could do another live stream and hop on Infinite Warfare if people would be interested in checking that out. But I do think that the movement here was better than BO3, which is my least favorite advanced movement. Fast time to kill, probably closer to Ghosts than Black Ops 3 if I remember right. Fast time to kill is kind of like a signature component of an Infinity Ward game nowadays, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but you know, you got to do it right. One thing that was cool here, I forgot to mention in Black Ops 3, but Black Ops 3 had specialists, which is essentially like different characters with their own unique abilities. So Black Ops 3 was like a hero shooter light in a way. I can't believe I forgot to mention that, because I kind of like that about Black Ops 3. Like, it's got a little charm to it, especially when the characters are cool. Infinite Warfare did something similar, but they have rigs, which is like the suit that you put on, and there are different classes that you can pick from, and you get like different passives and different abilities depending on your rig, which is a cool way of doing like a hero shooter type thing, but it still isn't attaching you to like a certain character. It sucks in a hero shooter, like when you want to play a character that's like just kind of annoying personality wise and you just have to deal with it. This is a nice way of like divorcing that element from the hero shooter stuff. But yeah, we're talking about a crazy sci-fi game here. Lots of insane cosmetics. Unfortunately, the loot box horror is still around. The Pick 10 is still here. Pick 10 was extremely popular during this era of Call of Duty, and I feel like Infinity Ward really was taking notes from the Ghosts feedback. Like, this game is way more bright and way more vibrant than Ghosts was. So I guess you can give them some credit for that. And what else? I mean, this game released alongside the Call of Duty 4 remaster, and I think that kind of overshadowed the game. I think Activision learned their lesson doing that, because it was kind of cannibalizing the Call of Duty community, like splitting them into these two groups where some people were playing COD 4 Remaster, some people were playing Infinite Warfare. It reflected really poorly on Infinite Warfare since, like I said, sentiment toward this game generally was really bad. And I think that's partly why we haven't gotten like a Modern Warfare 2 remaster or whatever, because it's kind of hard for them to do alongside a new release. Infinite Warfare did have zombies in Spaceland though, which for a non-Treyarch zombies mode, this was pretty cool. Like, I liked it. It had a lot of the charm and like whimsy that I loved from early Call of Duty zombies. And it was cool. Like, Zombies in Spaceland has like this cool 1980s theme. And yeah, I don't really have any complaints with that zombies mode. I think it was cool, probably a little underrated. But yeah, this game is like one of the most overlooked, dismissed Call of Duty games ever. And I don't know, there's a part of me that thinks that had it released in a different time, under different circumstances, people would have connected with it a little more. And maybe it deserved better. Like I said, I'm not terribly familiar with this one. This is like my least played Call of Duty. And so for that reason, like, I'm kind of tempted to put it in B, but I'm not going to put it in B. I'm also not going to put it in F. Like, I think there's some good here. The timing was just bad. Like, I think if something like Infinite Warfare were to release right now, I think there might be a good community of people that really take to that game. So let's move on. Call of Duty World War II. So we are now past the advanced movement era. And this is the pendulum swinging completely in the other direction. Activision is going back to World War II for Call of Duty. And at this point, everybody's obsessed with saying boots on the ground. This is a classic boots on the ground Call of Duty, normal movement, old school, World War II weapons, really simple and kind of just like basic stuff. To me, overall, this game just felt a little uninspired, generic, and boring. To be fair, I think that's what Sledgehammer was going for. Like, I think they set out to create just a really safe homage to World War II Call of Duty games. And they did that. I mean, the gameplay was slow, it was grounded by the books, really not that exciting. But at the same time, it was fresh to hop in and play this after years of advanced movement Call of Duty. It's like, you know, it's totally inoffensive, the game. Like I said, really safe. Visually, it's solid. Like, it does have like a, you know, a gritty kind of like grayish World War II look. Sledgehammer was really obsessed with doing an authentic World War II experience, which I don't really care for realism in my Call of Duty games, if I can be honest. Like, it's like the last thing on the list of things that I care about. But for some people out there, they liked that, so good for you guys. They had a divisions system, which was like part of the creative class. Kind of annoying, where like it would It was like a kit of perks that was pre-selected for you, so you didn't have as much flexibility. I think eventually Sledgehammer did a big overhaul to this, and they made that a lot better. Sledgehammer in general, they're good at listening and like making changes post-launch, so I guess give them credit for that. Supply drops all over this game. Of course, loot boxes are what they are. Yeah, I mean, as annoying here as they ever have been, I think there was a good like armory credit system though, where you could eventually save up to buy weapons without the RNG. There was a social space called Headquarters, which was like a Destiny style. It's like the tower from Destiny, where you walk around in third person and you do stuff. You can see people opening their loot boxes, which I'm sure is like the main reason why they wanted to have that, so you could see other people open their loot boxes. That was kind of cool to have like a fun little social space and to see your guy in third person. Oh, also we had a kind of rebooted version of zombies. I don't know how weird YouTube is about this, but this goes back to the original name of Nazi Zombies. I was really excited when I heard that they were doing this, because in Black Ops 3, they kind of lost me with the zombie storyline once it had become like more cosmic and it was like multiversal. Like, I preferred the older days of Call of Duty Zombies storyline, where it was like this alternate history World War II like sci-fi thing. I really liked that. And then by Black Ops 3, it's like they're jumping from dimensions, and I didn't really care for that. So when they were kind of like grounding it again here with World War II, I was really excited, but the maps never turned out to be as good, and it just didn't have the whimsy. Like, I keep using that word because that's really what was so fun about like World at War / BO1 Zombies, was like it was like this dark, gritty like zombie environment, but you had like these whimsical Perks-a-Cola and like the Pack-a-Punch machine that was like so mysterious, but it was like bright and colorful, and they had theme music, and this didn't attempt that kind of whimsy at all, which is disappointing for me. And overall, I wasn't a big fan of World War II Zombies. But ultimately, World War II for me, really safe, forgettable. The title alone is a great example of this. Like, they couldn't even come up with an actual name. It's just Call of Duty World War II. So personally, I'm not a fan of this game. I feel like it did what it set out to do, I think. I'm gonna put this in C tier. Yeah, I feel good about that. Let's keep moving. I mean, we're coming down kind of on the final stretch here. Whew. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm gonna grab a bottle of water really quick. Seeing as there are 0 people viewing this live stream, I don't think that anybody's gonna have a problem with it. I'll be right back. All right, so we got a good one here. Let's talk about Black Ops 4. When this game was announced, I was so excited. So, like I said, Black Ops is like that's my Call of Duty franchise. It's my favorite one. I never imagined that they would do a 4. With Modern Warfare, they only went to 3, and so I thought they would do the same with Black Ops. They announced BO4, and like, this is kind of the game that really got me fully on board back into Call of Duty. They brought Black Ops back, and they took all of the good stuff from modern Call of Duty, like the good gunplay, and the new creative class customization and the newer up-to-date graphics and all that, but they took out the jetpack bullshit from Black Ops 3. And so you had a boots on the ground-ish version of Black Ops 3, where you still had your specialists with your abilities, and they came without the advanced movement. So it was like we were getting the best of both worlds. We were also doing no automatic healing in Black Ops 4, which was insane. So anytime you needed to heal, you had to stim yourself. And on top of that, we're looking at the longest time to kill we've ever seen in Call of Duty. It's like, we're almost looking at like Halo time to kill at this point. They really shook it up with Black Ops 4, and I think it paid off for Treyarch. Like, this game, there's not another Call of Duty that plays like this one. It's very fun. The gunplay feels really good. This is like the first live service Call of Duty, so I really enjoyed, like, they were doing seasons. There was a battle pass, which at that point came free with the game, believe it or not. They were still doing the terrible loot boxes, which still had gameplay altering items like weapons. So that's kind of a blight on the game that you always have to remember. But the game was fun. There was great post-launch support. There was no campaign, which I think does leave a noticeable hole in the game. To me, the campaign kind of like ties the whole experience together, and it's the absence of a campaign I think does hurt the cohesion of the game. But because there was no campaign, we got a new battle royale mode called Blackout, and I also think that Blackout was really good. Some people might not even remember this, but there was a Call of Duty battle royale before Warzone, and this one was much closer to something like Apex Legends, whereas Warzone, like, you have your loadouts and it kind of feels like its own thing. Blackout really played really similar to Apex, and I prefer that to Warzone. Blackout also had, like, it took itself a little less seriously. Like, the map was way more fun. It was like packed with iconic Call of Duty maps. Nuketown had its own island. There were zombies maps on there with zombies in the area. You could like find a ray gun, and Blackout was a lot of fun. It deserved way better, but it wasn't free to play like Warzone, so it never really got the attention that it deserved. So yeah, I mean, multiplayer came out. It was unlike anything we'd played. It was boots on the ground, which is what people wanted. Blackout was really great, really fun. We had awesome post-launch support. They took some swings with Black Ops 4 Zombies that I didn't really like. They tried to create a new story, and then they did half and half with the old story, which was supposed to be over by Black Ops 3, but then I guess they decided to tack on a new part. So all of that was kind of a mess. And I didn't like the changes to the perk system and the loadout system of Black Ops 4 Zombies. Yeah, overall, that Zombies is a weaker point of Black Ops 4 for me. Overall, and then again, remembering the terrible anti-consumer loot box issue, overall, I loved Black Ops 4. Like, this was a really great time for me in Call of Duty, like, as I was really getting back into it. Oh gosh, this is gonna be tough to rank, guys. So I'm thinking A or B. It's A. Yeah, Black Ops 4 is A, guys. Black Ops 4 is A. Like, really a great experience. Honestly, it's just the anti-consumer stuff that is, like, making me want to drop it down to B. When you look back on it, sometimes you forget how terrible that truly was. But, like, it felt like they were really wringing you dry of all your cash back then. But still, I had fun. I had a lot of fun. So that's an A tier Call of Duty for me. Let's move on. Oh boy. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. This is a pivotal moment in Call of Duty history. I think the only other game that is more influential to Call of Duty was, funnily enough, the original Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4. Because after that, this is the one that I think is like the next biggest deal. Like, it sounds ironic to say, but like, this is Call of Duty 4 2.0. It's ironic because this one is also Modern Warfare. This redefined everything in Call of Duty. And I think as the years go on, looking back on it, we can see that more and more clearly. But this is Infinity Ward rebooting their beloved Modern Warfare franchise. And I'm a big proponent of reboots. Like, I really like getting a good clean slate and just kind of like redoing things, but redoing them better with new technology and new ideas. You take the good stuff from the old thing and then you leave the bad stuff. And this game like really reinvigorated the franchise. It like was a shot of adrenaline into Call of Duty because Infinity Ward had a vision. They knew what they wanted this game to be, and they executed it. They created one of the most high quality, probably the most high quality Call of Duty experiences, I think, ever. You take a look at the gunplay of Modern Warfare 2019. The guns, they look and sound so amazing. Like, they introduced a whole new element of, there's this visual recoil and all of these visual effects, and the recoil itself is stronger, which I think makes gun balancing much better, having some weapons that kick a lot harder, because then you have more room to kind of like finally tune the weapons. But just the experience of firing a weapon, it's like this visceral, it feels like realistic, and it really feels like your gun is just pounding. And the reload animation that comes after, it's like so, I don't I don't even know what you would call it, but like they're so tight and it feels so satisfying when that magazine comes out and they put it back in. The reload animations are genuinely pieces of art when you look at them. What they created here was incredibly beautiful. I know it sounds like I'm glazing really hard right now, but I've thought about this game a lot as the years have gone on. And one of the main things that Infinity Ward was doing here was trying to create a slower and more tactical version of Call of Duty. At the time, I really rejected this because it was boring to me. But now that, time has gone on, I've really appreciated what they were trying to do, because Call of Duty is really devolving more and more in recent years into just like small map shipment gameplay where you turn off your brain and it's just explosions and gunfire. Whereas what Infinity Ward was doing here, they were creating slower, more methodical gameplay. The maps were like really dense and they kind of had a more realistic feel to them, and there were different angles that you had to check, and it didn't necessarily feel like you were playing on a map that was built for Call of Duty, which is an odd thing to say because that might sound good or that might sound bad. But like with a normal Treyarch designed map, it really, you take one step inside of it and you're like, oh, I'm in a Call of Duty map. Here are my 3 lanes. But that's not what Modern Warfare 2019 felt like at all. I think regardless of how you feel about this gameplay style, you have to respect that Infinity Ward really accomplished what they were setting out to do with this game, I think. The gunsmith was also revolutionary. So like now there are more attachments that you can put on your gun. Each one comes with pros and cons. So you have to really, weigh and balance what it is that you're trying to do with your weapon and what kind of playstyle you're trying to achieve. And I liked that kind of like thoughtful element to it. And it also wasn't overboard at this point. Like as the games go on after this, I think they really get carried away with Gunsmith and it just becomes bloated and overcomplicated and you're like, whatever. But here was a perfect balance of like, there was nuance, there was complexity, but it wasn't overwhelming. I do also have to mention that the movement of the game was technically really slow and painful. But Infinity Ward kind of looked out here due to player-discovered tech like slide canceling and bunny hopping. This made it so that the movement was actually more fast and technical and allowed the game to be played much faster and with a much higher skill ceiling. Without that, then I don't know, my feelings on the game would probably change in a big way, because I do think that you need to be able to move around a little bit quicker than what the game naturally allows you to do. But luckily, people discovered, I just call it broken movement because it wasn't designed to be used that way, but people kind of break it, and then that's how you get the slide canceling and the bunny hopping of MW19, which really serves the game in my opinion. That's why I say like Infinity Ward lucked out, because then you have all this really cool tactical, thoughtful gameplay, and then you can still move around just a little bit quicker than what they originally intended. Modern Warfare 2 had Gunfight, which was a 2v2 mode. I liked this. I liked, smaller scale, a little more intimate, a little more intense. I didn't really care for Ground War, which is like a large scale, big team battle. That's never really been my thing. Also with this game, they finally fixed the monetization issues that Call of Duty had been happening. There are no loot boxes here. There's no RNG. All of that is gone and fixed, with the one little asterisk of the seasonal battle pass now being paid. So you now have to pay $10 on top of the box price of the game, which is really lame, but in my opinion is still way better than what Call of Duty had been doing at this time. Warzone launched with Modern Warfare 2019. I won't get too much into that here, but I do think that it was an incredible compliment to Modern Warfare 2019's gameplay. Like, Warzone was incredible when Infinity Ward was designing it, because it was through Warzone really that I was able to see the beauty of what they did with that game. Like, I hopped on the multiplayer and I didn't quite understand it. And then after playing Warzone for some time, I really started to see and appreciate what Infinity Ward was doing. Overall, this game, like, we were lucky. I know I'm glazing so much, but like, Infinity Ward actually cared when they made this game. They had a creative vision. They took the time and they executed it. And we don't see that so much in modern Call of Duty. Modern Call of Duty is like, this term is like so overused, but it feels just like slop nowadays. Like, The new Call of Duty comes out and it's like just like the one that came out before it. But this game, it didn't really feel like a soulless cash grab. It felt like Infinity Ward wanted to introduce the world to a brand new era of Call of Duty. And they did, which is why I call this next upcoming period of Call of Duty, I call the Renaissance era. Because I think that this game really kicked off a Call of Duty renaissance. Like, we entered an entire new era of the game after Modern Warfare 2019. So I'm glazing a ton here. This is going to be a controversial pick, but I am putting Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 in the S tier, ladies and gentlemen. Please, by all means, yell at me in the comments. So let's move on to Black Ops Cold War. This is a big follow-up to Modern Warfare 2019. Call of Duty is extremely popular at this point because of Warzone and because of the global pandemic. It's like Call of Duty at this point is more popular than it's ever been. So there's a lot of pressure on Black Ops Cold War. The game was originally being developed by Sledgehammer, but there were some development issues, so Treyarch had to step in kind of at the last second, and they basically just slapped a Black Ops title on a lot of what Sledgehammer was doing, and then they did the last little bit, and that's how we got Black Ops Cold War. The game to me does feel a little bit like a mess. Like, the visuals are lower quality than Modern Warfare 2019. Like, the graphical fidelity, things like the animations are nowhere near as good. The art direction, though, is more colorful and maybe like a bit easier to look at for some people. I forgot to mention, but like Modern Warfare 2019 took a really like a photorealistic approach to visuals, even to the point where like a lot of it was just like gray and brown and it wasn't super colorful. But Black Ops Cold War was the opposite. Extremely vibrant, extremely colorful, so I did appreciate that. The campaign here was surprisingly strong. Like, I'm a big fan of these like mind-bending, psychedelic stories where you never know what's real and what's not. We got some good new characters with Adler and Bell with some good like twists and turns. Honestly, one of my favorite Call of Duty campaigns is Black Ops Cold War. Zombies, this was the dagger for zombies in my opinion. At this point, they're introducing like persistent upgrades to the game. So like outside of the game in a menu, you get an upgrade that's permanent to your account anytime you play zombies. And that, to me, ruins the whole fun of zombies, which is that it has a roguelike element of it where you go in and you start weak and then you slowly get powerful. And then when it's over, it's over. You start a new game with a fresh slate. But they got rid of that, and I don't know why they did that. But I don't like Cold War zombies. They introduced Outbreak, which is like a large map zombies experience. Really boring, cuts all the zombies' tension in my opinion. I wasn't a fan. Multiplayer was kind of a mixed bag. It did have a good like classic Call of Duty feel, really fast movement compared to Modern Warfare 2019, which I liked. But overall, there's something about the game that just feels there was no passion. I think it's probably because of the fact that it was so rushed. But there was no passion involved here, like not like with Modern Warfare 2019, where you could tell that they had a love for what they were trying to do. Not so much with Black Ops Cold War, but we did get some cool, like, colorful maps. Like, I really liked Miami. I liked the Pines, which is, like, one of those, like, malls with neon lights in the 80s. It's, like, really nostalgic. I liked that. Which, in case I didn't mention, this game does take place in the 80s. Gunplay, compared to Modern Warfare 2019, it felt flat, weak sounds. Like, it didn't feel as good. The gunsmith was... You know, like, you could tell that they were trying to iterate over the gunsmith of Modern Warfare 2019, but there were fewer meaningful attachment choices, and it wasn't as good. I also have an episode of Codology on Black Ops Cold War. If you want more in-depth thoughts on that, I have a really good gunsmith section in that video. It'll be in the description or something somewhere, so I highly recommend that you check that out. Time to kill was longer here. It wasn't Black Ops 4 level long, but it was definitely on the longer side. It didn't feel very good for me because you had an issue with some of the snipers and shotguns being one-shot hits, while all of the other weapons still had that slightly longer time to kill. So it felt inconsistent to me. I didn't really like the time to kill feeling in Cold War. I think that was a big issue. But overall, Cold War was a good foil to Modern Warfare 2019 in the good ways and in the bad. It provided a more classic arcadey Call of Duty style gameplay, which was nice to see after Modern Warfare 2019, which just felt so different from what we were used to in Call of Duty. Like Modern Warfare 2019, like I said, the style of it was like, it was shockingly different. But here we're coming back to a more classic feel. And like I said, the biggest problem with it is that it just lacked any vision and passion behind it. Probably due to a rush development cycle, but it still wasn't so bad. Like I played a good amount of Cold War, and it had a good classic, like fast arcade Call of Duty style to it. For me, not bad enough to be in C tier for sure, but also like it's not an A tier game. So we're gonna go ahead and stick that in B tier. So we're getting there, guys. 4 more. Let's talk about Call of Duty Vanguard. This is Sledgehammer returning to World War II yet again. So again, due to Warzone, Call of Duty is extremely popular at this point. A lot of pressure on this game. And for some reason, it's a World War II game. Nobody knows why. It seems like nobody is excited for this to be a World War II game. People are done with the setting. It's played out. It's boring. It's kind of limiting to the gameplay. And yet, Sledgehammer is kind of stuck with this. The game comes out, and really what it feels like is Modern Warfare 2019, but in a World War II setting. Like the game, the movement is like Modern Warfare 2019 movement. The guns feel a lot like Modern Warfare 2019 guns, but now we're just doing the World War II thing. So it's a little weird, honestly. They did add some new cool things like destructible environments. I kind of liked that. Like you could shoot down a door, like you could shoot a hole in certain walls. That was cool for like the World War II setting. So there was all sorts of like destruction and debris flying around, that kind of thing. The gunsmith returns in insane form in this game. You have 10 attachment slots for each gun, and you get to fill up all 10. So this is double what we're used to, 5. And at this point, like, I touched on this in my Vanguard Codology. Again, sorry, I keep plugging that series, but you should check that out for a more in-depth explanation of this. But at this point, each gun, you tune it so far that, like, the base version of the gun can pretty much become anything. And it starts to feel like each weapon no longer has individuality, because with your 10 attachments, you can pretty much turn it into whatever you want to. So this was insane. I didn't like it. It's overboard. Nowhere near as good as the original Modern Warfare 2019 Gunsmith. The World War II aesthetic is so funny because, like, it was revealed and nobody liked it. And then, like, post-launch, Sledgehammer pretty much ignored this aesthetic. All of the cosmetics that were coming out of the game, most of the maps, like, they didn't really have anything to do with the time period. Colorful tracers, anime skins, wacky cosmetics all over the place. Like, I don't think Sledgehammer wanted to do a World War II game either. This must have been some decision made by an out-of-touch exec at Activision, something like that. But I do think, like, there were some good maps here, and they actually had combat pacing, which was where you could choose the amount of players that would be in your matches. So they're all played on the same maps, but you could do, I think it was 6v6 or 8v8 or 10v10. I can't remember the exact numbers, but that was kind of fun because then you could, like, if you were looking for just a crazy hectic experience, you could just queue into that 10v10 mode and you would get crazy battles no matter the map, which started to give each map kind of like a samey feel, but I guess it was a nice option to have. Champion Hill mode was cool. It was like a tournament 2v2 gunfight style thing. That was really cool. Sledgehammer didn't do anything with it after the game launched, so that was kind of annoying. The zombies mode here was like, Treyarch supposedly was coming in to help develop it, but what they created was an atrocity. It's no longer round-based. It's objective-based. Really confusing decision. I don't know what they were going for. The entire time people were just wondering, like, what is this zombies mode? And I guess since it was technically Treyarch, like, this is the first huge miss by Treyarch, in my opinion, for zombies. So yeah, the story of this game is kind of a sad one. Interest declined extremely fast, and I think it's just a victim of poor foresight, really, because, you know, when they choose the setting for these games, It's probably like, I don't know, 5 years before it actually comes out, around there. And for some reason, they thought like 4 or 5 years ago that this would be a good idea. And then when it came around, it was like, couldn't be more clear that it was a terrible idea. I think Sledgehammer did like decently okay with what they had, but overall, it's kind of an uninspired, like really boring game to play. All of the best parts of it are because it feels like Modern Warfare 2019 in certain aspects. So, is this an F tier Call of Duty? Oh man, is this an F tier? The movement and everything is fun, but it's really the gunsmith and like the setting that has got me thinking like this should be F tier. I also forgot to mention that the campaign is generic and boring too. Really nothing to write home about. Oh boy, it's an F tier, guys. Call of Duty Vanguard goes into F. All right, final 3. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Coming off of the extremely successful, highly critically acclaimed by me, Modern Warfare 2019. People were really excited for this one, but it came out and they slaughtered the broken movement, which, like I said, they got lucky with in Modern Warfare 2019. And you'd think they'd be smart enough to realize that and keep that in the game for the sequel, maybe even build on it, you know, lean into it a little bit. But they did not do that. They removed bunny hopping, they removed slide canceling, and the result is a really painfully slow game. And you still have all of the other good stuff, I think, from Modern Warfare 2019. Like, you have the more methodical and strategic gameplay. I think the maps here are actually a step up from Modern Warfare 2019. They're more colorful. There are more medium-sized ones as opposed to really big ones. Overall, like, this terrible movement was really bringing the game down. They also introduced, you know, the new gunsmith. They had gotten way overboard with, like, it's just bloated with a billion different attachments, and it's way too much to look through. They also have, like, even a slider now for some attachments, so you can really finely tune exactly the effect that you want each attachment to have, which is way too much control. Like, you don't need that much control for your weapon attachments. Like we were talking about in the Vanguard section, each gun needs to retain a certain amount of individuality. Like, you shouldn't be able to turn any gun into anything, otherwise it defeats the entire purpose of having all of these different guns. Gunsmith was a huge miss. The movement was like terribly out of touch for them to do that. I don't know what was going on. There was also a perk system where you charged up your perks in the game. So you would start the match with, I can't remember if you started with 0 or maybe 1 of your perks, but then depending on your points during the game, you would unlock the rest of your perks. I don't really like that, especially since there's some like fundamental perks like Ghost or something that you want to build your playstyle around, but you can't really do that if you don't have Ghost at the beginning of the map. So that was also a miss in my opinion. They did add some cool new modes. Like, I really liked Prisoner Rescue, I think, which is kind of like Search and Destroy, but it's like a cool tactical one life mode where like the stakes are high. I thought that was really fun and it fit the game really well. There was a cool like third person mode. That was just a small thing, but I like that. It's cool to see the skins that you're paying so much for. But overall, yeah, the bottom line for me is that the movement really made the game really slow. Some of the creative class changes, like the perks and the gunsmith, were not good. They didn't help the gameplay at all. And throughout the course of the game, Infinity Ward did not want to make any changes. Like, they were really stubborn with the game. I think it could have been great. It could have been better than Modern Warfare 2019. It ended up being pretty bad, in my opinion, which goes to show, I mean, there's kind of a thin line between good and bad when it comes to this kind of thing, because we talked about Modern Warfare 2019, and I think that there's so much to love about that game. And Modern Warfare 2022 shares a lot in common with that, but there's just a few of those things that really bring the game down, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth knowing that Infinity Ward did not care about the feedback and kind of just left the game to rot in a state that nobody liked it in. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put this in It's either B or C. Oh, boy, this is getting tough, guys. I'm gonna put this in B. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in B. There, you know, the post-launch support was also bad. Like that really hurts the game in my opinion, but I'm not putting a ton of weight into that right now. Like I just think in general, it's a B tier game. There's a lot to appreciate there, I think, if you can look past the movement and some of the creative class stuff. So Modern Warfare 3, the year after this, this is the first time we've gotten 2 of the same sub-franchise in a row. And Modern Warfare 3, developed by Sledgehammer, was going to be just an expansion for MW2 at one point. But then Activision decides, no, this should be a full release, which honestly was smart by them because, of course, people are going to pay full box price for this. It's Call of Duty. And that's what they did. Modern Warfare 3 is essentially a really good DLC to Modern Warfare 2. It fixes the movement issues, fixes a lot of the creative class issues that we talked about, and keeps a lot of the good stuff from Modern Warfare 2. In fact, a lot of the maps, all of the cosmetics and weapons carried over into MW3. In the case of the maps, I think that's a good thing. In the case of cosmetics and weapons, not so much. I think it just causes bloat, makes the game feel less new, makes it just feel like a big update to MW2, which it pretty much was. And this game launched with only remastered Modern Warfare 2, original Modern Warfare 2 maps. So it launches with 16 remasters, not a single original map. And that's honestly insane looking back on it. But it was hard to complain because I do think that it was unlocking some of the potential of Modern Warfare 2. It's just so confusing with the names. Some of the potential of Modern Warfare 2022, the second one, while also bringing back some good maps from the original Modern Warfare 2 that we hadn't seen in some time. So at first it was really fun. Like I enjoyed the first couple months of this game a lot, but near the end, since it felt so similar to Modern Warfare 2, it was like I got tired of it much quicker than I normally would have because it didn't really quite feel like a totally new release. The campaign here is laughably bad. It's like hilariously bad. It's the worst campaign that's Call of Duty has ever put out. I can't believe they even put this out. If I was working on this, I would quit in shame because it was terrible. It was terribly written. The gameplay was terribly designed. It was really short. It's an insult to Modern Warfare 1 and 2, which you could tell like the story really meant something to Infinity Ward, and they wanted to create something that was really serious and gritty with those games, and then this game comes around and it's a total joke. Zombies, they basically merged, they created like an extraction mode out of all the zombie stuff, which to be honest is fine for what it is. I'm not really an extraction mode guy, and I've been checked out of zombies for some time at this point, but I think some people like that, so I guess that's a positive. And of course we have the growing issue of all of the cosmetics that like we're slowly getting more and more insane over the years. So not really much else to say. Like this game fixes a lot of the problems that Modern Warfare 3 had. Modern Warfare 2, sorry. But ultimately it just feels like an extension. Doesn't really feel like its own thing. So I find that hard. That makes this hard to judge. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in B. And B tier is getting a little crowded, but I mean that's the middle tier, so it makes sense that this is the most crowded one. I do feel like it was an improvement to Modern Warfare 2 for sure, but it also was not really its own thing. Like I'm dinging a lot of points here because this is really just a Modern Warfare 2 update. Wow, we made it to the last on our list, an hour and a half later. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We are back to my favorite franchise in Call of Duty. So, did this game deliver? My problem with Black Ops 6 and most recent Call of Duties is that they all really are starting to feel and look the same. They play the same. They have the same like post-launch support patterns. It's like you're reliving the same thing over and over again. Whereas back in the day, you know, like we would have Ghosts one year and then Advanced Warfare the next. Completely different. And then we would have Infinite Warfare and then World War II the next. Completely different. But nowadays, like, Black Ops 6 feels a lot like Modern Warfare 2, which felt like Vanguard, which felt like Modern Warfare 2019. And now we're really getting to the point where it's just starting to feel like, again, I hate this term is overused, but it's starting just to feel like Call of Duty slop every year. But getting more into the details here, this game supposedly was in development for 4 years, the longest development cycle of any Call of Duty. Can you see that by looking at the game? I don't think so. It's not apparent that it had a longer development cycle to me. The campaign continues the Black Ops Cold War story. It's a good campaign. Like I said, I like that kind of like conspiracy heavy, psychedelic theme that Black Ops takes. Good campaign. One of the main things for the multiplayer is the omnidirectional movement. So you can sprint, slide, and dive in any direction now. This is kind of cool. Like, it feels nice. You have like cool like action hero moments, but it does make the gameplay feel less thoughtful overall. Like, if you can sprint in any direction, then it's kind of just like getting rid of sprint altogether. You know what I mean? It's the same type of thing as like being able to reload while you're sprinting. The whole point of the reload is that you should have to choose, like, should I reload here while not sprinting, or do I sprint and reload later? That's the kind of like thoughtful, purposeful gameplay that I think was really good in Modern Warfare 2019. Again, I appreciate this so much in retrospect, but those are the kind of gameplay decisions that you should have to make moment to moment. An omnidirectional movement kind of just feels like slop, where it's like, hey, now you can sprint and dive and slide in any direction. You don't even have to think about it anymore. Even though it does feel cool from time to time. Like I said, there's fun like action hero moments. The zombies here does go back to round based, thank God, but it sticks with the Cold War formula of having those outside of the game persistent upgrades, which again completely kills my interest in it. Zombies should be a roguelite. You shouldn't have these persistent upgrades, in my opinion. The multiplayer overall, man, like, it's not like it's bad. It's polished. It feels good. But it doesn't have like its own unique fun identity anymore. It all is just like blending together for Call of Duty. And even like, it's kind of like a bastardization of the Black Ops thing too, because it's not like they're respecting that setting or for the cosmetics or anything like that. Even for the guns, like they brought in the Kilo and the AMAX, which are famous Modern Warfare weapons, but now they're coming into Black Ops. So it's like, is this really even a Black Ops game? Because it doesn't really feel like it. Like, there's not really any evidence that it's a Black Ops game and not like just a generic Call of Duty game. So yes, the game feels polished. It's fun to play, but like, I kind of had my fun with it after like the first 2 months, I'd say, which is really short for me. I'll usually play like at least the first 6 months of a game's life cycle. For Black Ops 6, like after 2 months, I felt like I kind of had got the gist of it, and I was kind of done with it. Is there anything left to say about Black Ops 6? Honestly, it's just kind of boring to me. Like, we're looking at our 6th Black Ops game. 6 Black Ops games. I imagine trying to tell my younger self that was so excited for Black Ops 1 that I would live to see Black Ops 6. Not only that, Black Ops 7. And it's like, it's oversaturated, you know? It's kind of sad that what they want to do now is like a Modern Warfare game and then a Black Ops game and then a Modern Warfare game and then a Black Ops game. Give us a new title. Like, we had Advanced Warfare, we had Ghosts, and then we had Infinite Warfare. These are brand new big swings. Hell, even make a sequel to one of those. Give me that Advanced Warfare sequel, or give me that Infinite Warfare sequel, instead of just doing Modern Warfare, Black Ops, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, and then also making the two franchises slowly become more and more similar over time. It's like, it's driving me crazy. So yeah, I don't have, my thoughts on Black Ops 6 aren't terribly positive. Now the final question, where do we rate it? This might sound crazy, but I'm gonna put this in C. I do feel like, you know, we've seen a decline in quality. Like, from Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3 to Black Ops 6. And I think between MW3 and BO6, like, we crossed that threshold. And I also just feel like in general, like, these games are better than what Black Ops 6 is. Yeah, I mean, that might sound harsh to some people, but it's the way I feel. So ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. We have finished our Call of Duty Black Ops. Sorry, my brain is fried right now, and you can tell my voice is kind of giving out. We have officially finished our Call of Duty tier list ranking. As promised, I gave you 100% accuracy here. Took me almost 2 hours, but I got it to you. And I feel pretty good about this list. Black Ops, like I said, favorite Call of Duty ever. Modern Warfare 2, it's iconic. It's one of the GOATs. And then Modern Warfare 2019, pure artistry on display. A massive bold swing. Incredible visuals, incredible animations, an incredible new direction and philosophy for the franchise. So much love and care put into that game, and I think we took it for granted. People still take it for granted. I guess the fallout of this game has been kind of bad, though, when you think about it, since games like Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3 have tried to follow like a similar formula or pattern as Modern Warfare 2019. But all the same, you look at it in a vacuum, and I think that it definitely deserves to be an S tier game. And then, yeah, the rest of the list, I was feeling good. These F tier, sorry that I had to put you guys there, but you gotta do what you gotta do when you're making a list like this. So thank you so much for watching, by the way. I know that this was really long, and it's kind of like a niche thing that somebody wants to listen to someone talk about Call of Duty for an hour. But this is the kind of thing that I like to listen to. Hopefully there are other people out there that like to listen to this. I really want to know your thoughts on this list. Leave a comment below. You can let me know your list. I'm going to leave my Threads account linked in the description, so you can, tag me there. It'll be easier to get my attention over there. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. If you're interested in this, if you like this live format, please let me know. Because like I said, we could do some fun videos. Maybe we hop on some Infinite Warfare, or we can do whatever for the occasional live stream. And I think that could be a good time. But again, thank you so much for watching, and stay gold.